The cake was already soft around the edges when Daniel knew something was wrong. The pink frosting drooped under the warm lights, and the candles had been lit and relit too many times. Lily sat at the table in her new dress, feet swinging, hands folded tight in her lap. Her eyes stayed fixed on the front door, then the window, then back to the door again. Each time a car passed outside, her shoulders lifted with hope, then sank. Daniel checked his phone for the 5th time in 2 minutes. No new messages, no calls, just the same cheerful replies from days earlier, promising they would come, promising they were excited, promising Lily would have the best birthday yet. His parents had sworn they wouldn't miss it. His sister had even suggested the theme. Everyone had said yes. Everyone had gone quiet. Maybe they're stuck in traffic, Lily said. She smiled, trying to sound brave, but her voice trembled. Daniel forced a smile back. Maybe, he said, though his chest felt tight. He knew his family. He knew how silence from them usually meant avoidance, not delay. The living room was full of decorations. Balloons floated near the ceiling. A banner with Lily's name stretched across the wall. Crooked but proud. Goodie bags lined the counter, one for each child who had been invited. Every detail had been planned carefully. Daniel had worked overtime to afford it. He wanted this day to be perfect, not because of the party, but because Lily deserved to feel chosen. Time passed in small, painful pieces. The clock ticked loud enough to feel rude. Daniel finally lit the candles again. Okay, birthday girl, he said. Let's not wait any more. Lily hesitated, then slid off her chair and stood before the cake. The room was quiet. Too quiet. She closed her eyes and made her wish. Daniel watched her lips move, silent and hopeful. She blew out the candles in one breath. Smoke curled into the air and faded. Daniel clapped, loud and fast, trying to fill the space. Happy birthday, he said, louder than necessary. Lily smiled again, but it didn't reach her eyes. They cut the cake. Daniel served 2 slices instead of many. Lily poked at hers, then finally took a bite. It's good, she said quickly, as if he needed to be convinced. Later, when Lily was distracted with her gifts, Daniel stepped into the kitchen and checked his phone again. That was when he saw it. A photo posted online. His parents, his sister, his brother-in-law, cousins, all of them crowded around a long table, glasses raised, laughing. The caption was short and casual, like a joke. It talked about how nice it was to have everyone together. Daniel stared at the screen. His hands went cold. They hadn't forgotten. They had chosen to be somewhere else. Anger rose, sharp and sudden, but beneath it was something worse. The kind that sits heavy and quiet. The kind that makes you question your worth. He thought of Lily waiting by the window. He thought of how carefully she had brushed her hair, how many times she had asked if her grandparents were coming. That night, after Lily fell asleep with frosting still on her cheek, Daniel sat alone in the living room. Balloons bobbed gently as the heater clicked on and off. He didn't clean up. He couldn't. The empty chairs felt like proof of something he had tried too hard to ignore. 3 days passed without a word from his family. No apology. No explanation. Daniel didn't reach out either. He told himself he was done chasing people who never ran toward him. Then the message came. It was from his mother. Short. No greeting. No greeting. No greeting. Then the message came. It was from his mother. Short. Direct. No greeting. No greeting. She said they were short on rent and needed $1,850 by Friday. She added that it was urgent and that family helps family. Daniel read it twice. His jaw tightened. The number stood out more than anything else. It wasn't small. It wasn't casual. It was confident, as if refusal wasn't an option. He typed back slowly. One word. No. He stared at the screen after sending it, waiting for the familiar wave of guilt. It didn't come. Instead, he felt steady, calm. An hour later there was a knock at the door. Daniel frowned and stood. When he opened it, 2 police officers stood on the porch. Their faces were polite, neutral. One asked his name. The other asked if everything was all right. Daniel felt his stomach drop. They explained that a report had been made. A family dispute. Claims of threats and pressure related to money. They wanted to check in, make sure no one was in danger. Daniel's mind raced. He hadn't threatened anyone. He hadn't raised his voice. He had simply said no. He invited them inside. Lily peeked around the corner, confused. Daniel reassured her with a look. The officers asked questions. Daniel answered calmly. He showed them the messages, the simple request, his simple reply. The officers exchanged a glance. One nodded slightly. They told Daniel it seemed like a misunderstanding. No action would be taken. They apologized for the interruption and left. When the door closed, Daniel leaned against it, breathing hard. This wasn't just neglect. This wasn't just selfishness. This was punishment. They had tried to scare him into obedience. They had used authority to force his hand. They believed they were right to do it. Daniel looked at the hallway where Lily stood watching him. Her eyes were wide, uncertain. In that moment, something inside him changed. The need to please his family. The habit of forgiving without limits. The hope that they would someday choose him back. It all cracked. He felt anger, yes. But more than that, he felt clarity. They had crossed a line. And Daniel knew, as he turned off the lights and walked Lily back to bed, that this story was no longer about a missed party. It was about what happens when love is treated like a resource. To be taken and respect is demanded but never given. And it was about what he would do next. Daniel stopped sleeping well after the police visit. Nights stretched long and thin, filled with thoughts he couldn't slow down. He lay awake listening to the house settle, replaying every moment of the past week. The empty chairs, the glowing phone screen, the knock at the door. Each memory pressed against him, asking the same question again and again. How had his own family become strangers so quickly? During the day, he moved on habit. He packed Lily's lunch, walked her to school, smiled when she waved goodbye. He answered emails at work and nodded during meetings. No one noticed the weight he carried. From the outside, he looked the same. Inside, something sharp had formed. He started remembering things he had once pushed aside. The times his parents asked for help and promised repayment. The emergencies that always seemed to land on his shoulders. The holidays he traveled hours for, only to be criticized for arriving late. The way his sister spoke to him when she needed something warm and kind, and how quickly that warmth vanished when he said he couldn't help. He had called it family duty. He had called it love. Now it felt like training. Daniel opened his bank app one afternoon and scrolled through old transfers. The numbers added up fast. Rent, cars, bills, school fees. He had never kept count before. Seeing it all laid out made his chest tighten, not because of the money, but because none of it had built safety or closeness. It had only built expectation. His phone buzzed again. A message from his sister. She didn't ask how Lily was. She didn't mention the birthday. She wrote that he was being dramatic, that their parents were stressed, that calling the police had been a last resort. She said he should stop acting like a victim and do the right thing. Daniel read the message once. Then again, something dark and hot rose in him. For the first time, he didn't push it down. He began to imagine what it would feel like to stop. Being the quiet one. He thought about telling the truth. All of it. He pictured sitting across from his parents, listing every time they had taken without giving back. He imagined his sister's face when her confidence cracked, when she realized. He was done absorbing blame. The idea of revenge took shape slowly. It wasn't loud or messy. It was controlled, careful. He had proof, messages, receipts, years of words, and numbers that told a story very different from the one they liked to share. He knew things that could embarrass them, things they worked hard to hide. At night, he stared at the ceiling and planned conversations that might never happen. In these imagined moments, he was calm and clear. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't beg. He simply refused. In those moments, he felt strong. Then morning came, and he felt ashamed for even thinking this way. Daniel had been raised to forgive, to keep peace at all costs. Revenge was something he believed only weak people chased. Yet here it was, tempting him, offering balance. If they could hurt him without regret, why should he protect them? One evening, Lily asked why he seemed tired all the time. He told her work was busy. She nodded and went back to coloring. A drawing caught his eye. It showed their house, small and bright, with only 2 stick figures inside. "Where's everyone else?" he asked gently. Lily shrugged. They were busy. Daniel turned away before she could see his face. The desire for payback grew stronger after that. Not because he wanted to hurt his family, but because he wanted them to understand. He wanted them to feel the weight of being dismissed. He told himself it was fair. He told himself it was justice. Another message arrived, this time from his father. It was longer. He wrote about sacrifice, about how much they had done for Daniel growing. He said Daniel owed them. He said refusing to help was cruel. He ended by warning him not to make things worse. Daniel's hands shook as he read it. He realized then that his family truly believed their actions were right. In their minds, they weren't manipulative. They were desperate. They weren't cruel. They were practical. They saw Daniel not as a person with limits, but as a solution. Understanding this didn't ease the anger. It sharpened it. Daniel opened a folder on his laptop. He didn't name it anything obvious. Inside, he saved screenshots and statements. He told himself it was just for protection, just in case. But deep down, he knew it was more than that. It was the foundation of a choice he hadn't made yet. He felt split in two. One part of him wanted to burn the bridge completely, to expose everything and walk away without looking back. The other part remembered childhood dinners, laughter, moments that had once felt real. He wondered if revenge would erase those memories, or poison them forever. Sleep came in short bursts. His dreams were restless. In them, he stood in rooms full of people who couldn't hear him speak. As days passed, the pressure increased. His family's messages became sharper. Accusations replaced requests. They told him he was selfish, ungrateful, heartless. Each word chipped away at old guilt, but it also built something new. Resolve. Daniel began to see the pattern clearly. Their love had always come with conditions. His obedience had been the price. One night, after Lily was asleep, Daniel sat at the kitchen table and faced the truth he had been avoiding. Revenge wouldn't fix the past. It wouldn't protect Lily. It might feel powerful for a moment, but it would tie him to them forever. Still, letting go felt like surrender. He closed his laptop and pressed his palms against the table. His reflection in the dark window looked older, tired, but also awake in a way he hadn't been before. The fight wasn't just with his family anymore. It was with himself. And the decision he was moving toward would change everything. The message arrived on a quiet afternoon, sharp and sudden like a dropped glass. Daniel was at his desk, work emails open, when his phone lit up with the family group chat he had muted days earlier. He hesitated, then opened it. Panic spilled across the screen in short, frantic lines. Their landlord had found problems. Papers didn't match. Deadlines were close. They needed proof of income, records Daniel had helped organize months ago. Without them, eviction was likely. They assumed he would send the files. Daniel leaned back in his chair, heart pounding. The room felt smaller. He knew exactly where those documents were. He also knew what else they showed. Missed payments. Half-truths. Stories that only worked if no one looked too closely. For the first time, the power was his. His sister followed up with a private message. The tone was softer now, almost gentle. She said this wasn't the time for old issues. She said family needed to stick together. She said Lily would understand one day. The words felt practiced, warm, thin from use. Daniel closed his eyes. Images rushed in. Lily waiting by the window. The candles burning low. The police at his door. His chest tightened, not with fear, but with certainty. They weren't asking for help. They were demanding rescue. He opened the folder on his laptop. Files stared back at him, neat and silent. He imagined sending them, watching the crisis pass, watching the cycle reset. He imagined the next demand, the next threat dressed as concern. Then he imagined the other option. One email. One message to the landlord. Facts only. No insults, no drama. Just truth. The kind that couldn't be ignored. He pictured his family's shock, their anger, their sudden understanding of consequences. The thought sent a rush through him, warm and fierce. This was the moment he had been moving toward. Daniel's hands hovered over the keyboard. His pulse thudded in his ears. He felt the weight of every choice he had ever delayed. Revenge promised relief. It promised balance. It promised an ending where he was no longer small. But endings had costs. His phone buzzed again. This time it was his father. A voice message. Daniel listened. The words were strained, edged with fear. His father spoke about age, about mistakes, about how things had gotten out of hand. He didn't apologize. He didn't mention Lily. He simply said they needed Daniel to fix this. Daniel stared at the screen. Long after the message ended, he stood and walked to the window. Outside, children rode bikes down the street. Life moved forward, unaware of the war inside him. He thought of Lily coming home from school, of the kind of world he wanted her to grow up in. One where love wasn't leverage. One where boundaries weren't punishments. He returned to his desk. Slowly he began to type. Not to the landlord, not to save them, not to destroy them either. He opened the family group chat and wrote carefully, choosing each word like a step across thin ice. Describe what had happened. The missed party, the silence, the money demand, the police visit. He kept the tone calm, factual. He wrote about how those actions affected him and his daughter. He wrote that trust had been damaged. He wrote that he would no longer provide financial support or documents tied to his name. He made it clear this wasn't revenge. It was a boundary. Before sending it, he paused. His finger hovered. This message would change everything. There would be no going back to pretending. No quiet forgiveness that erased accountability. He felt fear, sharp and clean, but beneath it was something steadier. Respect for himself, Daniel. Press send. The response was immediate and explosive. Messages flooded in. Anger, denial, blame. His sister accused him of cruelty. His mother said he was tearing the family apart. His father warned him he would regret this. The words blurred together, loud but hollow. Daniel didn't reply. Instead, he left the chat. Silence followed. Not the heavy silence of neglect, but the clear silence of a door closing. His hands shook as he closed the laptop. He sat still, breathing through the rush. His heart felt bruised, but lighter. When Lily came home, she talked about her day, about a classmate who shared crayons, about a spelling word she finally understood. Daniel listened closely, fully. He realized how often his mind had been elsewhere. Before, tangled in problems that were never truly his. That night, after Lily fell asleep, Daniel sat alone again, but the room felt different. The tension that had filled the air for weeks had eased. He knew the consequences weren't finished. His family would struggle. They might blame him forever. The story they told about him would not be kind. But the story he told himself had changed. He hadn't crushed them. He hadn't saved them. He had chosen himself and his child. The urge for revenge still flickered, but it no longer controlled him. He saw it now for what it was. Pain asking to be heard. Daniel stood and turned off the lights. In the darkness, he felt the weight of his choice settle. It wasn't easy. It wasn't clean. But it was honest. The moment had passed, and with it, the version of himself who believed he had to suffer to belong. The silence that followed was strange at first. Daniel woke up each morning expecting another angry message, another threat dressed as concern. Some came. Many didn't. His phone stayed quiet longer than he expected. The absence felt uncomfortable, like stepping out of a noisy room into open air. He didn't know where to put his hands anymore. He didn't know who he was without reacting to them. His family tried again, but not the way they used to. Messages arrived one by one instead of all at once. His sister accused him of abandoning them. His mother sent long notes filled with guilt and memories. His father stayed silent. Daniel read each message once and didn't reply. He felt the urge to explain himself rise and fall, like a wave that never quite reached shore. At work, he noticed something had changed. He focused better. He finished tasks faster. The constant tightness in his chest loosened. He laughed at a joke during lunch and was surprised by the sound of it. It felt real, not forced. Not defensive. At home, Lily noticed the change before he did. "You smile more now," she said one evening while doing homework at the table. Daniel paused. "Do I?" She nodded. "Yeah. You're not quiet like before." Her words landed softly but stayed with him. A week later, Daniel planned something he had avoided for years. He invited Lily's classmates and a few neighbors over for a small gathering. No theme, no pressure, just cake, games, and noise. He didn't invite his family. He didn't feel guilty about it. The day came bright and loud. Kids filled the house with laughter. Someone spilled juice on the floor. Someone else cried, then stopped 5 minutes later. Lily ran from room to room, smiling without checking the door, without waiting for anyone who might not come. Daniel watched from the kitchen, heart full and steady. This was what showing up looked like. That night, after the house was quiet again, Daniel sat on the couch and thought about revenge. The word felt smaller now, less powerful. He realized how close he had come to letting it guide him, how easy it would have been to turn pain into a weapon. He imagined the aftermath if he had. Exposed everything, the chaos, the shouting, the satisfaction that would have burned hot and fast. then faded. He understood something clearly then. Revenge wouldn't have freed him. It would have tied him tighter to people who had already taken too much space in his life. Weeks passed. His family's situation worsened. He heard through distant connections that they had moved, that things were tense. No one asked him for help again. No one apologized either. Daniel accepted that both things could be true. He didn't need an apology to move forward. One afternoon, his father finally called. Daniel stared at the phone for a long moment before answering. The conversation was awkward. His father spoke slowly, carefully. He didn't say sorry. He didn't admit wrongdoing. He said things had been hard. He said Daniel had made his position clear. He said maybe space was for the best for now. Daniel agreed. When the call ended, Daniel didn't feel angry. He didn't feel victorious. He felt calm. Calm had never been part of these conversations before. That night, Daniel wrote something down in a notebook. Not a letter. Not a message to send. Just words meant for himself. He wrote about boundaries. About how love without respect turns into control. About how protecting peace is not the same as being cruel. He closed the notebook and felt something settle inside him. The urge for revenge faded slowly, not all at once. Some days it returned when he remembered the police at his door. Other days it whispered when he thought about how easily they had dismissed Lily. But it no longer ruled him. He saw it as a signal, not a command. A sign of where pain had been, not where he needed to go. Lily grew lighter too. She laughed more freely. She stopped asking when they would visit family. She stopped explaining things away. Children adapt quickly when adults stop teaching them to doubt their worth. One evening, as Daniel tucked her into bed, Lily asked a simple question. Did I do something wrong at my party? Daniel's heart clenched, then steadied. No, he said firmly. You didn't do anything wrong. Some people don't know how to show up. That's on them, not you. She thought about this, then nodded. Okay, that was enough. Months later, Daniel ran into a cousin at a store. The conversation was polite, short. His cousin looked uncomfortable, unsure how to act. Daniel kept it brief and kind. He walked away without the old heaviness dragging behind him. He realized then that the true result of his choice wasn't silence or distance. It was freedom. Freedom to decide who had access to his life. Freedom to teach his daughter strength without bitterness. Freedom to stop proving his worth to people who only saw him as useful. Revenge had promised power. Boundaries had given him peace. Daniel didn't pretend everything was perfect. Some nights still felt lonely. Some memories still hurt. But the pain no longer ruled his actions. He wasn't living in reaction anymore. One quiet night, Daniel sat on the porch and watched the streetlights flicker on. He thought about how easily this story could have ended differently. How one angry choice could have echoed for years. How close he had come to becoming someone he didn't want Lily to learn from. He exhaled slowly. Walking away hadn't been weakness. It had been the hardest choice he had ever made. And it had saved him. As the night settled around the house, Daniel felt something rare and lasting. Not victory, not regret. Peace. And for the first time in a long while, that felt like enough.